I call the meeting to order for Monday, May 1st, 2017. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Terry Glover will lead us in prayer.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for the many blessings you've given us. Thank you for those that defend this country nationwide. Be with us, be with them and guide them as they go through trying to support this nation. Be with the first responders and those in Dyersburg that go and make us safe each day where we can walk up and down the street. Thank you for the many blessings you give us and opportunities that we have in Dyersburg that many places don't have. Be with those that are fighting challenges, those that are physically sick. Be with Rodney Henry as he tries to recover. Be with each and every one that meets those challenges and has challenges, and help us in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, roll call. Please show all present here tonight. Next item is approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from April 17th, 2017.
Move.
Motion from Mike Morgan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Terry Glover. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Next item, new business. Local Government Committee meeting minutes from April 26, 2017. Chairman Kevin Chaney.
Thank you, Mayor. The Local Government Committee met Wednesday, April 26, 2017 at 9 a.m. in the second floor conference room of City Hall. Committee members present: Chairman Kevin Chaney, Mayor John Holden, Terry Glover, and Dennis Moody. Other aldermen present: Mike Morgan, Bill Askew. Staff and others present: Greg Williams, Purchasing Agent, Kevin Josmer, Thomas Mullins, Code Enforcement, Brandon Hutchison, State Gazette. Alderman Terry Glover provided prayer. Chairman Kevin Chaney opened the meeting with the following agenda: update on building codes and seismic requirements. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen adopted an ordinance exempting the seismic requirements and new span table requirements regulated within the 2015 International Residential Codes adoption. In an audit by the State Fire Marshal's Office, the city was notified that suspension of the enforcement of the seismic and span table codes would not result in adequate enforcement of the requirements. As a result, the city engineer was authorized to create a compliance plan. The compliance plan must be submitted to the State Fire Marshal's Office by April 30th, 2017. Prior to the meeting, the committee reviewed copies of the compliance plan. Additionally, the plan was reviewed by Code Enforcement Office and several local building contractors, including Alderman Askew, to review the city's response in the plan and provide an opinion for the committee. The committee discussed options, concluded that the city would be best served to reinstate the seismic provisions as prescribed in the 2015 International Residential Code adopted by Ordinance Number 642 that was suspended December 5th, 2016. A motion was made by Mayor Holden to reinstate the seismic provisions as provided in the 2015 International Residential Code that were previously suspended, and to delete the span tables as shown in the 2015 International Residential Code adopted by Ordinance Number 642, to be replaced by the span tables adopted by the State of Tennessee as shown in the 2009 International Residential Code. The motion was seconded by Alderman Dennis Moody. The motion was approved, and the committee will recommend the action before the full board, Mayor and Alderman, for public hearing. Mr. Joslin noted that he will prepare a non-inclusive checklist to assist building contractors in the education of the new seismic regulations. The Code Enforcement Department recommended that all contractors acquire code books. With no further business, the meeting adjourned at 9:30, and I'll make a motion and we set a public hearing for this.
Okay, have a motion from Alderman Cheney to set a public hearing for the motion that was approved in a local government committee meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Have a motion from Alderman Cheney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Robert Taylor Jr. Any discussion?
Mayor, did we send this back up and get it approved,
In your
Mr. Farley?
in your updates from the mayor packet that was in your agenda, I think there is an email. There's a letter that Thomas Mullins sent to Gary Farley that was sent that afternoon, dated April 26, 2017. And before that letter is a response from Gary Farley that states, I'm in receipt of your email concerning the adoption of seismic codes. My office will review these documents to determine if they are in compliance. Once the review is completed, you will be notified in writing. Thank you for yours and the city's cooperation in this matter. Have a great rest of the week. Did y'all get that email?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Okay, so that was a response from Gary Farley after the letter was sent out Thursday afternoon. Any other questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is actually a notice of public hearing. We've already done that. Notice of public hearing will be held on May 15th, 2017, which will include the revisions to ordinance BB 642, 2015 International Residential Building Code. So we've already done that, and we'll set that public hearing to be held at our next meeting on May 15th. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for beer permit, Tapped LLC, address 2695 Lake Road, Dyersburg, Tennessee. That was in your packet, Chief.
Thank you. A background investigation has been completed for Tapped, which is located at 2695 Lake Road. This is the former Pub 78 that had a permit. I found nothing in the background investigation that would prohibit the owner from being issued a permit, and would recommend a permit be issued for on-premise consumption at Tapped.
So moved.
You heard the recommendation. We have a motion by Bob Kirk. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mike Morgan. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience wish to speak to this? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, crime statistics and risk management report for 2016. The Dyersburg Police Department, Police Chief Steve Isle. Steve.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to take some time and go over this report with you. It's a report that we're very proud of, and I feel you will share the same after I explain some of the details in this report. I believe you all have the packet. Hopefully you've had time to review. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, and I've highlighted some various things for sake of time. If you have any questions, please stop and ask. I'm going to start with the form that says Dyersburg Police Department at the top, and is a list of crimes. And I'll explain this form. This is through the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. We're required to report all of our crime incident reports to TBI. They collect this data, and then they issue a yearly report for all agencies. And this is our report for 2016. And I'll start at the top, which is the Group A offenses. These are called crimes against persons. These are your more violent crimes that we count. And I'll start with murder. In 2016, we had 2 murders. Both were cleared by arrest. If you'll recall, one of those homicides was the birthday shooting where we had 9 people shot. 1 person was killed during that attack. Individual was charged within hours of that incident and is awaiting trial. The second murder was an infant child that was murdered, and the offender is also in jail awaiting his court date. So both of those murders were cleared. Unfortunately, that raised our percentage up 100%, because in 2015 we recorded 0 homicides. And the rest of the categories, forcible rape, we were down 16.67% from the previous year. Aggravated assaults, down 13.4%. And simple assaults were down 10.53%. Now I want to point out of the aggravated assaults and simple assaults, the forcible rape, 38.27% of the aggravated assaults were domestic related. This is important for several reasons, but one, that this is not random acts of violence against the community, but it's very, very troubling. You've heard me stand here before you before. That's very troubling that we have people in relationships that are hurting each other. So it's not to minimize these numbers. If anything, it should draw attention to it. But I want to point out again that 38.27% of our aggravated assaults are domestic related. 54.9% of simple assaults are domestic related. That's over half of our assaults. And in rapes, 33.33% of forcible rapes are domestic related. And you can see the numbers, the total numbers for aggravated assault in 2016 were 209, and simple assault were 570. Going on down, we have fewer numbers of burglars reported in 2016. We have more robberies. In 2016, we had 21 robberies. In 2016, where we reported 14 in 2015. Theft from motor vehicle and other larcenies and thefts are down for the year. Drug offenses, which are crimes against society, are up 26.1%. So those are the crime numbers that I wanted to share with you. We'll transition over into the risk management report. During 2016, the Dyersburg Police Department responded to a total of 27,000 calls for service. Of these calls, there were a total number of 2,539 arrests made. Of these 2,305 arrests that were adults, 234 were juveniles. When comparing this number to 2015, we had 2,647 arrests in 15, which is a decrease of 4.25%. There were a total number of 55 use of force incidents reported in 2016, which gives us an average of 1 use of force incident out of every 46 arrests made, or a total increase of 47.27%. Of the resistant offenders arrested by the department in 2016, 8 were juveniles and 47 were adults. A breakdown of the physical force, soft hand, hard hand, and impact weapons increased by 18.6% in 2016. It has been observed that more officers are beginning to go hands-on with resistant subjects due to the increase in soft hand controls. This points to the fact that officers are making sound, ethical use of force judgment while using force fairly and quickly to maintain and control of situations and subjects without having to substantially increase their level of force applied. Ongoing training is key to our success in this category. As a result of all physical force utilized by members of the department, only one incident caused an injury to the suspect from soft hand. It was a minor injury. The use of tasers has decreased by 87.5% in 2016. Of those deployments, there have been 3 reported injuries to suspects as a result of deploying the taser. One was very serious in nature with head trauma, where the person fell under power of the taser. Briefly, and I think I had mentioned this particular case before, where an officer was approached. An individual had been involved in a domestic situation. He was armed with a long gun, went for the gun to pull on the officer, and the officer fired his taser. The gentleman fell and had severe head trauma and was hospitalized for several weeks with trauma. The other person, other 2 were transported where a physician had to remove the probes from the individuals.
Chief, do you find that the laser technology has improved any from the time I know you first started using them, or is it still the use is pretty much is what you expected, and the outcome is pretty much what you expected to take a suspect down?
we're very pleased, and of course, technology is forever changing, and I'll remind you, I came before you several months ago and asked you to consider allowing us to go into that plan with Taser or Axon, the maker of Taser, where we could get the new Tasers, they cycle them out, and that was very important so we can keep new technology in officers' hands, and I think this speaks volumes to show that we had a decrease in Taser usage by 87.5%. And again, it's showing that officers are making good decisions. They're not automatically going to a force option, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we're very, very pleased with those numbers.
Thank you.
Overall, officers have made excellent force decisions by using the Taser and are not subject to over-reliance of this force option. Pursuits, in 2016, we had 16 instances where a suspect evaded arrest in a motor vehicle. Of these, 2 pursuits reported. One resulted in an unmarked vehicle being struck by the offender's vehicle. There were officers that were disciplined for violation of policy in that particular incident. The second pursuit was for violent felony, aggravated robbery. The officers followed the guidelines, and both subjects were taken into custody without a crash or damage during that pursuit. Chemical agents, in 2016, we saw a 41.67% increase in use of chemical agents. We also break.
Chief, can I ask
Yes,
a
sir.
question?
Absolutely.
Tell me what is a chemical agent?
It is what's referred to as freeze, or people refer to it as mace. It's a chemical agent that each officer has that they have on their duty belt. It's just another tool, less lethal option for officers to use.
Less than taser or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Depending on the circumstances, the officer has those options available.
So it's like mace, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We also break this down by demographic data, and I point out that this is not required of us for state law. I don't believe it's required for CALEA, but we choose to do this so we know exactly what our officers are doing on the street and interacting with our public. But out of the use of force encounters with resistant subjects, white males accounted for 35% of these incidents. This is a decrease of 73.68%. Black males account for 25%. That is also a decrease of 35.71%. White females, 15%. Black females, 5.5%. White male juveniles, 5.5%. That's a 33% increase. Black male juveniles, 2%. White female juveniles, 4%. Black female juveniles, 4%. And Hispanic males, 2%. There have been 0 complaints filed to the department for use of force, and there have been no internal investigations initiated due to any use of force incidents. Our professional standards unit, they're responsible for investigating or handling our internal affairs investigations. They report 3 external complaints. 1 was sustained, 1 was unfounded, and 1 was exonerated. They investigated 3 internal directed complaints. 2 were sustained, and 1 was unfounded. Traffic stop and field interview demographic forms. Again, this is not required of us. This is something that we have chosen to do. This includes traffic stops and field interviews where officers encounter someone in the public and they talk to the individual, maybe question them about various things. It can be anything from a suspicious person walking in a neighborhood to someone suspicious in a vehicle, so that counts for a lot. But there were 3,238 encounters. This also includes traffic stops. And out of those stops and out of those encounters, 1,852 were males, 1,385 were females, 2,245 were white, 903 were black, and 69 Hispanic. And our assessment analysis of this report, we're going to continue officer survival tactics training, emergency vehicle operations training, firearms, de-escalation tactics, and use of force will take precedence over all other training within the department, as those are the most dangerous and high risk that our department and this city faces. I'll also add that I'm extremely excited about we are implementing de-escalation training in our department. It is ongoing as we speak. I believe we'll wrap it up next week, where everyone in the department, from the chief to the newest hire officer, has to go through de-escalation training. We sent a supervisor to de-escalation training, where they are now certified to teach this within our agency. This is something that we will do every year. The de-escalation, again, is not required of us from CALEA or the state, but it's something that we feel is important. It minimizes conflict. It gives officers another tool to diffuse situations that they're in. It also gives a wide range of options for the officers to use without resorting to use of force. So anything we can do, another tool we can give the officer to accomplish this, we're very excited to do.
And that training's underway now?
Yes, sir, it is, and we're about to wrap it up. After this year, after the department has gone through this training, we will continue with this. It's going to be added to our in-service training, so we're going to have an additional 8-hour block, which will also include 4 hours of de-escalation. We also incorporate range and firearm use within this program, 2 hours of police ethics and 2 hours of dealing with people in crisis and mentally ill. We also, this will be the last year that I'll report to you and use the word use of force. We will be changing our entire manual, and it will be response to resistance that will be in place of use of force. Not every encounter, when we deal with someone who's being resistant, requires force. We just don't like we just don't like the way that sounds and the way that looks. It appears that every time that we encounter someone and there's some resistance, that results in force, and that's simply not the case. There's other things that we can do. Unfortunately, in our business, it does result in force, but we want to give our officers every opportunity to go with response to resistance. This full report is on our website for the public to review. This report, along with some extra information, it's under our annual report for 2016. It has everything I've talked about tonight and several more items. And that's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions of the
Yes,
Chief?
I've got a couple of questions, Mayor, comments if good. You referred to the reporting procedures. We read and hear from time to time that there are different departments report different statistics in a different way. Is that becoming more consistent with what everybody's doing? Or are we doing some things that perhaps other agencies have not just started doing yet?
It would be hard for me to answer that without knowing these other departments, how they collect their information and what they are reporting. I will tell you that we report as required by the state. We go through a lot of extra. I have several people assigned to this through our support staff that make sure that we're reporting accurate information. And I realize that sometimes it might raise our numbers some, but one thing we're going to do, and transparency is a word that's really thrown around a lot, but we're going to be very transparent with our community that we serve. I wished our numbers were lower. I wished our crime numbers were lower, but compared to last year, the numbers are down, and I think this report reflects what our men and women are out here doing.
It's a good report, and I thank you for it because it gives us a lot of detail on just how our department's operating and what's going on in our community. One other thing that I might mention is, and it may not be this may not be the place for it, but your turnover, how's your turnover rate in your department, and the reasons for people leaving? Or I know there's a feeling out there that a lot of people don't want to be in law enforcement anymore, but could you address the turnover and what kind of statistic that might be? And I don't know whether this report is the place for that to be or not.
I made a presentation to the Public Safety Committee several months ago, and we discussed some of this, and when I was making a proposal regarding our pay. But to answer your question, in 2016, we lost 9 officers, 3 of which were terminated for misconduct.
Yeah.
The 4th was promoted to another city department as department head. The 5th, quite frankly, his family did not want him to be in the business anymore, and I totally understand that. He loved it. He hated to give it up, but obviously family comes first, and they were very concerned for him. The other 3, 2 of the 3 cite pay. They went to other agencies. The 3rd one in that group, which is number 8, had an opportunity to go to another agency with the hopes of being able to get off of patrol sooner and go into an investigative role. And then the 9th was an officer whose wife was offered promotion or another job in Alabama, and he moved his family to Alabama. So in 16, it was 9 total, 3 of which were terminated for misconduct.
What about your candidate pool for jobs?
It's shrinking.
It's strengthening?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We currently have 2 vacancies. We have hired obviously a lot of officers this year and in 15. But the applicant pool is shrinking. There was a time when this courtroom would have a lot of applicants here to go through the test, and those numbers are greatly shrinking, and that's unfortunately a trend across the nation. Talked to a lot of chiefs, not only in the state, but serving in my position with the international chiefs, and this is a very probably the number one thing that we discuss often. Sure.
I know that when you appeared before the Public Safety Committee, we had a fairly lengthy discussion about the step raises in your department and how long it took for an officer to get to a certain place in the department as far as pay goes. We're getting ready, I think, to start looking at the budget very seriously, and I hope that you'll bring forth, when you ask for your budget, that you'll bring forth those recommendations, and I hope we can look at those very favorably this year because of the nature of your work and what y'all are doing for this community. And thank you again for this report.
Thank you, and I have that information, and then we put together the scale, and I believe Steve Anderson has it now, and is trying to put a dollar amount on my request. But I have that information if anybody would like to have it. And you raised a question, and if I could tell you my request for those of you that are not on the Public Safety Committee or present for that meeting, it takes 18 years for an employee to top out. I'm asking that go from 18 years to 7 years for the police department. I have some pay comparisons, some other agencies around us. I think you'll be quite surprised when you look at the comparisons. And I know it's a difficult decision for you all. We've had some discussions about it, but it's the skill set required to do this job. The cost that we have when we hire somebody, we have almost $6,500 before they even spend their first week in the classroom, and then academy costs. So we're looking at over $9,600 just up front when we hire someone. But I have all this data, and I'll be glad to share it with you in future meetings, however you'd like to proceed.
Thank you. I don't have anything else, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions of the chief?
Yes, Chief, your very first paragraph, y'all responded to 27,000 calls for police service?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, how do y'all do that? I mean,
Very carefully.
yeah, and you don't know what any one of them could be.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, this has been a challenging year for us. Last couple of years, we're so supported in this community.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. We are so supported. But our officers are dealing with some very difficult situations. I mean, and I would be glad to sit down with any of you and we can look at some reports. I'd be glad to show you just the past couple of weeks of some of the things that these officers have had to deal with, and it will literally send chills down your spine. And I'm not exaggerating this, and I will show you if any of you would like to sit with me and we can discuss it.
Well, I know several officers, and I just think that STEP program being moved up, that of all the people that need being paid right, do the right thing, is our officers, because they do so much for us, and that many calls in 1 year is just, it just boggled my mind when I just saw it. So.
And I'll take a quote from a mentor of mine in a much larger agency that I really look up to and I rely on and talk to. He says, and he's absolutely correct, before we leave this meeting, officers working will make $1 million decision. Meaning, every decision, every day, these officers are out here, and it's not all about safety and the dangers that they face, but every decision they make could be that $1 million decision for us as a city. I'm the first one on that federal lawsuit, followed by the officers involved in the incident, then the city of Dyersburg, you all. So every decision, every day, could be that $1 million decision, and that's the skill set that I'm talking about. And I'm certainly not trying to imply that our other city employees are not deserving of more money,
No,
but I'm just
no.
asking that you look at this particular job and the skill set that it takes and the money that we are investing to ensure we have the best trained, well-trained officers in this state. You want an accredited agency? We're an accredited agency. We do a lot of extras. The officers have so much more that they have to deal with now to be an internationally accredited agency and a state accredited agency. We demand the best of them. Our community demands that, and that's not too much to ask. So those are things I'm going to be asking that you really keep in mind as we approach the budget process. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. I appreciate the report. Appreciate you, and I appreciate the men and women of the department for your professionalism and your transparency. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, bids. Greg Williams.
Got two items for your approval tonight. First is for the fire department. It is a rescue truck. The one bid was a 2017 one-ton Ram chassis to replace the 2005 chassis we currently have. There was $37,500 included in the budget. I sent out notification to the State Gazette and direct to 3 vendors. I got one response from Tim Castelaw Ford for $36,975, which does include the trade-in of our existing truck and transferring the existing rescue body to the new truck. So I recommend awarding the bid to Tim Castelaw Automotive of Dyersburg for $36,975.
So moved. Have a motion from Dennis Moody. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Carolyn Norman. Any discussion?
It's close to the budgeted number, so.
Yes, and he
Very
can have
close.
it here, so we should have it before June.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Budget.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
And the next item, I apologize, I meant to pass this out. I sent this out in an email, but I know some of you may not have You got, there was an item on the one that I did send out earlier about a roof, the water treatment plant. We were waiting on waiting on the approval of some specifications, and got that late this afternoon. This is a new roof for the water treatment plant on Mall Boulevard to replace the older roof. Yeah, if you remember, it was budgeted last fiscal year, but the engineering did not get around to it in time to get it done, so we did it again this year. Notification was given to the State Gazette and several plan rooms. We only had one contractor pick up a set of specs. That was Fraser Roofing, and their bid was $97,604. And in order to get it done in this year's budget with this money, even though it is a little more, I recommend awarding the bid to Fraser Roofing for $97,604.
You've heard the recommendation, entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Motion from Kevin, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bob Kirk, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Greg, appreciate it. Next item on agenda, report from Alderman, Bob Kirk.
Mayor, thank you for sending us the tickets to the prayer breakfast. We appreciate it, look forward to it. It's this week, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
National Day of Prayer is Thursday, May 4th.
Yeah.
There'll be a breakfast at First Baptist Church Fellowship Hall about 6:30. Then there's prayer in the square that starts at 12 noon downtown Dyersburg.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Bill?
Appreciate the invite to the prayer breakfast, but I'm not gonna be able to attend, so if anybody needs these tickets, I can give them to them. Anybody that needs them.
Okay. Thank you. Terry?
What, I guess question, where are we on our sanitation equipment we're trying to get back on the road?
I'm going to refer to Greg Williams.
Oh, I forgot to ask about the budget.
Question, Mr. Glover.
Sanitation equipment, where are we with the purchase of the truck and also, I guess, replacing the engine that we approved?
The engine is still being, I think they had to order the replacement engine, so it's still in the shop. The purchase of the truck, we were able to get it for $72,000, and that was the purchase price minus that month's rent, so they
That means
knocked
they're
it
gonna
off.
be on the road when?
It's on the road now.
Okay,
We had it the whole time, so it never left.
okay, so we still have the one rented?
No, that's the one we bought. We were renting it for a month,
Okay, so
and we
it's back.
bought that truck, and they knocked that month's rent off of the sale price.
So we should be catching up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
He
you.
had to send that truck back, didn't he, didn't he have to send it back?
He had a seal or something that he had, a blade or
Pin
something in the
a pin
bed.
or
yeah.
something, he had
Yeah.
to send it back.
Yeah,
So
but
we've
they were
already
gonna-
got it back.
They were gonna fix that before we took possession of it.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Kevin?
Yes, sir. I received a petition from some residents out on Ellen Drive in the neighborhood out there, and I want to pass this along to the city about some potential construction out there.
Okay.
Pass it along to, let them know that it's been delivered. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
I have nothing.
Dennis?
Have anything?
Carolyn?
Yes, sir. I want to compliment, first of all, the safe houses that we have. It was nice to hear Ron Childers mention on TV that Dyersburg is one of the, I don't know what he called it, safe cities or something like that, but it was good to hear that. I do have, I've had a couple of, I guess you'd say, complaints about the one on, next to the high school. We need more parking spaces, and we may have discussed it, I don't know. But I was told by a resident there in Bel Air that there are 24 spaces. And when you have that place capacity, full to capacity, over 100 people, that's not enough spaces. And then I had noticed, and it was quite evident that night, that Sunday morning, that the band has parked there for quite some time, some vehicles and trailers, 3 of them, and the way they're parked, they're taking up 6 spaces. First of all, I don't understand why the band is parking stuff, you know, there at the safe house when they've got, you know, parking at the high school. I don't know if we've talked about more parking spaces or not, I can't remember. And then I'd like to know why the band is parking vehicles there anyway. Do you know, Mayor?
I don't. I'll email Kim Worley tomorrow and ask her to respond to that request.
I mean, that's, you know, when it's wet and everybody's trying to run in, it's, you know, there's no parking spaces. It's
Okay.
kind of ridiculous.
I'll email her, ask her to respond, and I'll
We're
forward
very
that to
proud of
Jill.
our city, what it does, and that.
Thank you. Robert?
Yes, Mayor. The playground equipment at Future City is in pretty bad shape. And someone brought to my attention the equipment at the old Jenny Bell School. Is there any kind of way we could just move that over to the Future City community?
Yeah, I don't know how deep that's anchored at the old Jenny Bell School, but certainly if that's something that we can do, be more than happy to do that. I'm assuming the city owns that playground equipment, is that correct? I remember something back in my mind that somebody else purchased that at agency or something. Anybody know about
I
that?
asked that question last week because I was over there looking at the Jenny Bell School, and I asked why we couldn't take that equipment and move it down to Future City or somewhere else. And I was told by Andy that it would be more expensive to take it up and move it than it would be to buy new. So I don't know what he's basing that on, something in his experience, I guess. But that question came up because it looked like it was in pretty
It's
decent
in
shape.
good, yeah, I was there Friday, I believe it was, and it was it's in great shape.
Might pursue it further. Okay.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Okay.
We'll find out. Sure will.
Appreciate
Mayor,
it, Mayor.
excuse me, I've already had my say, but let me ask you one more thing about the budget. Maybe you're gonna say something. Are we getting close to looking at some budget numbers or preparing for the budget?
Yes, sir. I think Steve has already sent information out to all the department heads that are working on them. Some have already been turned in, and other folks have been talking to Steve about that
So
over
we'll
the
be
past
meeting
couple of
pretty
weeks.
soon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Just a couple of items I want to mention. Miss Carolyn touched on the safe rooms. We opened the safe rooms yesterday, Sunday morning, about 3 a.m. And both safe rooms, Midtown and downtown, had close to 400, a little over 400 people in both safe rooms at 3 a.m. Sunday morning. Then we opened again at 9 a.m. Sunday and had close to 300 people in both of those. But as far as the staff of the city employees, those that were there, I appreciate that very much. Police officers got those open, the fire department employees that got the one downtown open. I was at 3 o'clock, I was at the high school location. Things seemed to go fairly well, other than the parking, and I think that's an issue that we need to discuss during the budget time. We do need more parking spaces there. And then at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning, I was downtown, and that went very well as well. So thanks to all the employees that volunteered to do that, that are on the call list to show up and get those open and protect our citizens. I appreciate that very much. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.